Good evening and welcome to the new space of the future of AI, technology, news, insights, brought to you by the AIM Network, India's definitive media organization and voice on everything AI and technology. And of course, a big warm welcome to Front Page. Tonight on the show, we have for you big decisions, clear signals, and one moment of reckoning. AI leaders are choosing India. Capital and talent are moving in. But space has reminded us all that how fragile progress can be. These are the stories shaping the next phase of technology. And here are the headlines. Anthropic appoints former Microsoft MD Irina Ghose to lead its new Bengaluru office, signaling a major push into India's enterprise and government AI sectors ahead of the 2026 AI Summit. OpenAI and Sam Altman have backed Merge Labs, an $850 million brain-computer interface startup using ultrasound and AI to rival Elon Musk's Neuralink in the race to fuse humans and machines. Disney has leased 174,000 square feet at RMZ Eco World 20 on Bengaluru's outer ring road, reaffirming the city's position as the world's fastest growing hub for technology, creative and global capability centers. And finally, India's most trusted workhorse rocket, PSLV, has now suffered two back-to-back third-stage failures, destroying 16 largely uninsured satellites on C-62 and exposing a dangerous insurance vacuum for India's private space startups. One of the world's most Good evening. One of the world's most closely watched AI labs just made a deliberate move. And that move validates the vision the world is beginning to see for India. Anthropic, the company behind Claude, is no longer just waiting and watching from the outside. They're actually putting people on the ground, committing time, attention, and leadership right here. The headline: Anthropic has hired Irina Ghose, former managing director of Microsoft India, to lead its India push. So when a lab of this stature steps away from familiar ground like Silicon Valley, it signifies where they believe future talent will come from, where real users will be built, and where the next scale of AI will emerge. Tonight on Front Page, why this is a power appointment, why India is becoming Anthropic's second home, and how this reshapes the OpenAI Anthropic perplexity battle for our future. Please stay with me, and this is Front Page. Irina Ghose is the new India Managing Director for Anthropic. She has spent over 2 decades at Microsoft, and until recently, she was driving the ship for Microsoft India. She is well versed with BFSI, healthcare, manufacturing, government, and in her first note, she employed very specific words: high trust, enterprise grade AI, end quote, acknowledging the fact that Anthropic wants to have a strong presence in banks, hospitals, and ministries. And, of course, the reason why Anthropic has entrusted her with this position and responsibility is because they needed someone who can close the deals. Irina understands the unglamorous aspects like procurement cycles, data residency laws, compliance hurdles very, very well. Anthropic is positioning itself as the responsible AI, the safe AI, while India is moving aggressively with India AI and safety guidelines. One, of course, needs a leader who can sit across the table from a regulator and speak their language. Irina already has experience of AI at national scale with Azure, which of course will definitely assist while she's doing it with Claude. India seems like the natural choice for Anthropic because India is already Claude's second largest global market. According to their economic index, nearly half of Claude's usage here is technical, coding, systems design, hardcore mathematics. Claude Code usage is up 5 times since June. So it won't be incorrect to say that Sonnet 4.5 is almost like a developer's co-pilot. And the fact that their global CTO is Rahul Patil, a Bengaluru boy, PES University alum, it actually is a big shot in the arm because he knows exactly what this market builds. But then, here is the hiccup. India has high usage but low ARPU, which is the average revenue per user. We want world-class AI and we want it for free, or well, we are also okay to settle under 500 rupees. But Anthropic's play is different because they're going after the enterprise stack, the government stack, and not just focusing on subscriptions, which is why the co-work launch, which basically turns our laptop into an agent that cleans folders and builds decks, an attempt by them to automate the boring half of India's knowledge economy. OpenAI, setting up in Delhi and Bengaluru. Perplexity, partnering with Airtel to get into your phone plan. Reliance Jio, betting on Google's Gemini. Seems like we are in a distribution war. Telcos are deciding which AI sits in your pocket. Cloud providers are deciding which AI powers your office. Anthropic is making 3 deliberate moves. 1. Legitimacy. Dario Amodei meeting PM Modi, partnering for the AI Impact Summit 2026. The message: we are the adults in the room. And number 2, narrative power, which is India is hosting the global conversation on AI safety. Anthropic wants to be the loudest voice at that table. And number 3, boots on the ground, hiring enterprise AEs, which is partner managers. India stops being just a line on a graph and it starts to become an operating base. So what changes for us? For the startups in Koramangala, the banks in Mumbai, speed takes precedence. Instead of routing decisions through San Francisco, we have local leadership, pricing, pilots, partnerships. It happens all right here. Expect deep deployments in healthcare triage, agricultural flows, and closer ties with universities, with of course a potential $300 billion IPO on the horizon. With Rahul Patil as CTO and now Irina Ghose as Managing Director, India's influence on Anthropic's roadmap just went vertical. And of course, in conclusion, here is the front page take. We, of course, have been covering this from the start, and I'm sure you're aware of this because you follow front page. When Amodei met Modi, you remember that one? When Sonnet 4.5 dropped and became the coder's favorite. Tonight's chapter is plain. Anthropic isn't just coming to India, it is building with India, which is the good one. If you haven't, well, checked out our deep dive on Anthropic's coding dominance episode, please connect the dots. This is Front Page by AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, this is the new space and the future for AI and technology. And of course, as always, remember, think AI, think India, definitely think AIM. Silicon Valley has a new favorite buzzword, the merge. It sounds like a bad science fiction movie title. Absolutely, I agree. But tonight, it has a laboratory. It has $250 million in cash. And it has the 2 kings of AI standing on the opposite sides of a battlefield inside your skull. Wow. We definitely like to make things sound dramatic. In the red corner, Elon Musk and Neuralink. In the blue corner, Sam Altman and his new bet, Merge Labs. Musk and Neuralink is basically, Sam isn't just watching, he is a co-founder. He is writing checks. OpenAI just led a $252 million seed round. The valuation $850 million before they even actually have shipped a product. And that is the surprising part. And I want to ask you why. Well, because OpenAI has just looked at ChatGPT. When they looked at us, they realized something very painful. We are the bottleneck. Let's do away with the marketing and understand what is the narrative war. Neuralink is the force approach. Drills, robot surgeons, electrodes in the gray matter. It works, it's real, but it's heavy metal, not the music. Merge Labs is the stealth bomber. Their pitch, no drills, no wires. Instead, biology and sound waves, ultrasound. Here is the ping pong game. Elon wants to wire the room. Sam wants to rewire the resident. Neuralink installs a port. Merge installs a protocol. The technology sounds like magic, but it's actually biology. And that is Merge Labs, which wants to actually go into gene therapy. They deliver special proteins to your neurons. These proteins act like signal boosters. Then they use ultrasound, sound waves to read and write data to the brain. So let's just think of it this way. It's scary, but let's just think again. Neuralink is plugging an Ethernet cable into your wall. Fast, reliable, but you are tethered to the spot. Merge Labs is trying to build whole house Wi-Fi inside your head. Wireless, broad, scalable. The team isn't a bunch of coders. We are actually talking about Mikhail Shapiro from Caltech, Tyson Aflalo, Summer Norman, and the WorldCoin guys, Alex Blania and Sandro Herbig. All these heavy hitters, well, they claim this is the path to a BCI, which is a brain-computer interface. That, of course, you might actually use, not just for medical needs, but to upgrade oneself. But why is OpenAI here? Why does the ChatGPT company care about biology in the first place? Bandwidth. Right now, you communicate with AI at the speed of your thumbs, maybe, 40 words a minute. AI processes tokens at the speed of light. The friction is unbearable. OpenAI's blog said it very, very simply. Progress in interfaces enables progress in computing, which means they want a direct line. They want to bypass the keyboard. They want the model to talk to the mind. And if you believe AGI is coming and you don't want to be a spectator, you actually need a faster connection. Yes, that is the bet. An AI operating system that doesn't live on your phone. It actually lives in your neural pathways. Elon says this: we start with patience, paralysis, blindness, end quote. Merge says, same, but we want the consumer as well. They want a device safe enough that the founders would wear it as well. And that is the narrative hook. Safe, non-invasive, but of course we need to analyze that. Non-invasive is a relative term. Sure, they aren't drilling a hole, but they are modifying your biology with gene therapy. And that isn't a smartwatch you can just take off at night. No, that is a permanent edit to the source code of your cells. And here is the dark side of the moon, the risks. This is the ultimate privacy nightmare. If a machine can read your intent, it can actually read your focus. Yes, who owns that data? Is it us? Or is it the company that sold us the subscription? This goes beyond ad tracking. Actually, it goes into the domain of neuro tracking. So let's just imagine your boss knowing when you zone out. Imagine the government knowing your emotional state before you do. Well, and the biggest risk? Alignment. Sam Altman talks about merging with AI to keep control. But if the AI is inside your cognitive loop, where does the human end and the model begin? Yeah, that's scary. Do you make the choice? Or does the algorithm nudge the neuron before you even have the thought? The internet is divided. Yes, half see full dive virtual reality, the matrix, unlimited memory. The other half sees the end of free will. But the money is moving. Neuralink has raised $650 million. Merge just grabbed $252 million. The race is on, not for the best chatbot, but for the nervous system of the future internet. Sam Altman has placed his chip on the table. Elon Musk is already drilling. So what about you? You are the prize. Yes, we've spent 10 years asking if AI is smart enough for us. Tonight, the question has changed, my friends. Are we smart enough to let AI inside? This is Front Page by AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, this is the new space for AI and technology and the most stellar insights. Always remember, like, share, subscribe, and think AI, think AIM. Good evening. A new report from Cushman and Wakefield just released the numbers. The Walt Disney Company has leased 174,000 square feet at RMZ Eco World, right in the belly of the beast, which is Bengaluru. Yes, the outer ring road. No press release, no confetti, just a very simple filing that says one thing: Disney is building the machine behind the content it is selling in India. So the point is, why here, why now? The narrative wants you to believe it's just cheap labor, but the narrative is lazy, because we are going to wake up that narrative and give you something very interesting and insightful. Let's look at the cluster. Streaming technology, cloud engineering, AI workflows, ad technology. This corridor isn't a back office. It's the engine room. We've said it, of course, on Front Page 100 times. We'll say it again. Bengaluru is the GCC capital of the world. The numbers, they never lie. ANSR research put it in black and white. India has 610 mid-segment GCCs. Bengaluru holds 205 of them. That is 34%. 1/3 of the country's high-value enterprise centers are in one city. 166,000 professionals by 2030. That number hits 950. From fintech ops to EV software, everyone is building their global backbone right here. Disney is just the latest brick in the wall. Social media is calling it a win streak. Bengaluru just keeps winning. But just when we actually start to think the skyline is full, no, the narrative shifts again. Because it's not just Mickey Mouse coming to town, although that would be nice, it's Elon. Tesla is officially coming to Bengaluru. Mumbai got the debut, but Bengaluru gets the tech integration. The world's most influential EV company is opening its showroom doors right here. Minimalistic design, tech-first approach, Model 3, Model Y, sustainable mobility pilots. It's not just a dealership, it's a statement, as always it is with Tesla. They want the software engineers who drive the cars to also build the cars. Interesting convergence, no? Disney enters, Tesla expands. 205 mid-market GCCs are already digging in. The world is building its future operating system, and somehow all the cables connect back to the same 3 pin codes. We, of course, spoke to Madhav Bhagat recently, CTO of Spot Draft. It was a wonderful conversation. They moved their entire headquarters from Gurugram to Bengaluru. You ask why? I thought the answer was quite obvious. But anyway, I'll still give it to you. His answer was this: if you're building in AI today, Bengaluru is the only place where everything you need is within a 3-kilometer radius. And trust me, he wasn't exaggerating. HSR layout, Bengaluru, Sarjapur. This is the densest AI cluster on the planet outside of, yes, you've guessed it, San Francisco. Look at the roster. Harness, the DevOps giant, expanding in HSR, hiring across AI ops and engineering. Anthropic just announced plans to aggressively scale right here. OpenAI, putting engineering boots on the ground. NVIDIA, Google, Apple, Microsoft. Wow, the entire global AI stack is living on the same street. And here is the interesting part. There is one more name on that list. Yes, us. And we are proud to say Front Page is on that list. Our studio is right here in Bengaluru. We are so excited to actually say that again. Can I say that again? Sounded nice. We are right here in Bengaluru. Yes. Of course, now back to what is happening with Tesla. From ORR to HSR, we aren't just reporting on the ecosystem. We are breathing the same very air. We are watching the transformation from the ground floor. No, actually, we are on the mezzanine. Anyway, the narrative is quite clear. The world builds in Bengaluru, and we tell you how they do it. Of course, as always, I will say this: like, share, subscribe, and always remember, you have just witnessed the new space for AI and technology and stellar insights, only on the AIM network, which is India's definitive media organization and voice on everything AI and technology. So you know what to do. Think AI, think Bengaluru, think AIM. All right. Failure will never overtake me if my determination to succeed is strong enough. Those words, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Now, to the 12th of January, Sri Harikota. The PSLV lifts off for the 64th time in its history. A rocket that has built India's reputation in space. A vehicle with just 2 failed missions before 2025. 16 satellites on board, government startups, universities, even international payloads. And within minutes, it's over. A third stage anomaly. No separation, no orbit. This is the second time PSLV failure has happened in just 8 months. And of course, the third mission failure in the past year. A rare moment for a rocket that has long been seen as near automatic. For the founders watching telemetry, this wasn't dramatic. It was actually far worse. It brought silence. Satellites that never switched on. What followed exposed something way bigger than a technical fault. Startups flying without insurance. Yeah. University research frozen mid-flight. Revenue timelines slipping. And an ecosystem learning in real time what risk actually looks like at that scale. Tonight, we are not just asking what failed, we are asking what does accountability look like as of right now. Does this moment dent ISRO's standing or force a necessary reset? And of course, are India's space startups finally built not just to launch, but also, more importantly, to recover? And joining me, as always, is the most awesome Sanjana Gupta, the tech journalist who covers this very extensively for us at AIM. And she has been tracking this story. Welcome to the show, Sanjana. I hope you're doing wonderfully well. Of course, not the best of times for us to have these conversations. But of course, I still have to give you a very warm welcome on front page.
Hi Sudhi, I'm doing good and glad to be here again to have a discussion on India's space tech industry, and definitely not the best of times, but I think these are the tough times that need these conversations.
And yes, who better to have it because you've been following this very, very closely. Let me set the context first. PSLV C62 carried 16 payloads, including startup satellites and university experiments. None of the Indian private satellites were insured. That's a big one, Sanjana. We're going to talk about that.
Definitely.
All were lost before orbit. So the first question to you is this. Wasn't this, Sanjana, just one rocket missing its mark? I don't think so. Startup lost months of runway. Universities lost research, windows, and of course, there was zero insurance cover, as I just mentioned. I just first want to ask you, how did this happen?
So I guess since you've already mentioned the technicalities of the mission, we know we had 16 payloads. Our biggest payload was the EOS N1, which was the bigger payload. And along with that, we had 15 other smaller payloads by startups, universities, and even, as you mentioned, international startups. And out of those, I think the 3 most significant for me were the ones from the 3 Indian startups, Dhrova Space, Take Me to Space, and Orbitaid. And they were all looking at very good different applications. And the international ones we had a lot from, we had from Brazil, we had from Spain, UK, right. So I guess getting into what actually went wrong is what this started, that we know as the anomaly that happened during the 3rd stage. So essentially every rocket has 4 stages when it's getting deployed. And towards somewhere in the 4th stage, ISRO noticed an anomaly through which the rocket kind of went off course, and it was not, I guess, to be never seen again. And as of what ISRO described, it was some sort of a default in its roll rates, which led to the deviation in the flight path, is what they have revealed until now.
But that's the official narrative, Sanjana.
Yes.
What are the other aspects which are doing the rounds? Because, I mean, you're deeply embedded in the ecosystem. I'd like to understand that.
Well, since ISRO has been in the silent period since they announced that, you know, they're going to go into a detailed analysis into this, I guess the industry has been sparking with quite a lot of conspiracy theories around this. And just to say, these are just conspiracy theories. They might hold no truth at all.
No, fair, but yeah.
I guess these are some things that I have been hearing here and there, and I thought they were pretty interesting. So, do you want to hear them?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think we've been waiting for with bated breath?
Okay, so let's get into the first one.
Yeah.
So I have two theories for you today. The first one is something that I feel looks like a good theory. So one of the payloads that were on the rocket was a payload called Kid Capsule. It was by a Spanish startup. I think a collaboration between a Spanish and a French startup. So that was a re-entry capsule. Essentially, it's one of the capsules which after deployment, after the fourth stage is completed, is gonna detach itself from the main rocket and come back into the Earth orbit and land in the Indian Ocean. So that was the plan for this Kid capsule. And what exactly happened, I mean, out of all the payloads that sort of disappeared and became a failure, this was the only payload that was successful out of the entire mission.
Okay.
So the theory is that at some point when the rocket is flying, going out of the Earth's orbit, it's reached a stage where this satellite is supposed to, detach itself, right? So it has a deployer which thrusts it out of the rocket and it comes into the orbit. And people are assuming that maybe the thruster wasn't as, it should have been a little lesser powered, or maybe it was not mandated very well.
So basically the thruster was faulty?
Not faulty per se, but maybe not mandated well, as I said.
Okay.
And it ended up pushing the entire rocket with a little bit of a push. While it left to come into the orbit, the rocket might have gotten a little bit deviated from its trajectory, having, leading that to it for it to be like going out instead of staying in its trajectory.
What's the second one?
The second one is something, I guess, lesser of a possibility, but around the defense, it's a defense conspiracy where they're talking about how countries like US or China might have gotten hold of this mission and launched some electromagnetic waves in space.
Because they want to be circumspect, or they want for us to have surveillance data, etc.
Yeah, I guess that is one thing. And I mean, I guess it's about a space war, a rivalry. So that's what we're looking at, if that theory is by any chance true.
Fair enough. I need to now, of course, talk to you about the reputation aspect, Sanjana, is very, very important. Something like this, of course, we've mentioned this was the 64th flight. We talked about all of that. We talked about the fact that there have hardly been any failures. It's a workhorse. It is very reliable. But something like this, Sanjana, definitely is a very devastating blow as far as the the entire standpoint is concerned, the reputation is concerned. It takes a hit, right? What do you have to say on that? And how does it probably have ramifications on something on the policy aspect or on the trust aspect? I'd like for you to give us insights on that.
Right. I think this is something that I also wanted to know more about. So I talked to a lot of people in the industry, and I think one interesting outlook was by the managing partner at Unicorn India Ventures. They're one of the VCs that have invested in Take Me to Space and Orbit 8, the two startups that sent their payloads on this mission. And I think they had to say, they had really good things to say about the Indian space industry, to talk and say that they're investing highly. But I feel they also had to say that They think there should be more launch sites in the country.
Which is, I think, a fair call.
Yeah, I guess the dependency on ISRO is so high that at this point, everyone's striving to achieve that. And there's so many people who want to launch. The industry is growing at a very rapid pace. So they would definitely want, the private startups that are doing launch services. We have Skyroot, we have Agnikul, we have Ethereal X. So I guess the VCs kind of want that, these startups to come into the picture and provide that extra launch space that is probably required. And that's definitely a requirement because of the industry growth as well.
Talking about the VCs and the startups, Sanjana, I'm so sorry. I'm rushing you through because there is a paucity of time.
Right.
But I would like for you to maybe shed light on the fact that the startups seem to be robust. They seem to be, well, bouncing back and doing it with a lot of aplomb. Right. And do the VCs and the startups have a beautiful sense of collaboration, a bonhomie that even through these very tired and trying times, they're supporting each other. And that is fabulous for the ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely. I think two of these startups, Dhruva Space and Take Me to Space, had wonderful, fail-safe proof plans in place already. Take Me to Space had, while it was building its MOI-1 payload for this mission, it alongside had built replicas of all the parts it was going to put together to make that satellite. So looking back at it, now that the satellite is lost, they do have those parts in which they can recreate this, payload again. And they're hoping to finish that by by sometime, mid-end March, which is literally 2 months from now. And they're hoping that, they find alternate measures like, getting a launch at an SSLV rocket instead of a PSLV, and to be in orbit by August this year, which is really good ambitions for a company like that. And secondly, for Dhruva, I feel the essence lies in the kind of a startup it is. It's something that focuses on ground technologies. So even though their payload is going into space and sort of communicating with the ground technologies, in that sense, they already have those, customers and their ground tech setup, which is working very well. So even though the payload is lost, they haven't lost their entire, holding on the tech that they're building. So it's in the nature of the startup, I guess, but I guess that was a pretty good foolproof plan from their end.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, and forward thinking as well.
Yes.
Final message I would like for you, Sanjana, today, very quickly, to summarize for us as the front page take. What would you like to say?
I guess I would like to say that, I personally don't think that one failed mission means that, ISRO is failing or that the country is failing. I feel space is a very difficult industry to be in or to, launch a rocket in, considering, when we started out launching a rocket from a bicycle or like a cart to today where we are at.
By the way, we have that photograph here in our office in the studio.
Yes, definitely.
It's truly inspirational. Yeah.
Definitely. So I guess looking at where we started to where we are now, it's come up with a lot of difficulties. And I guess I'd like to say that just because we had one failure, that does not mean that this is going to be, justifying the end, or in any way it's going to mean that, India is somewhere behind, because, US has had failures, NASA has had failures, SpaceX has had failures, and I guess we all come past that. So I'm hoping this will be a good time for India to, come above this and, prove to be that, we can do this.
Fair enough. Anjana, thank you so much. Sanjana, thank you so much. Sorry, I don't know why did I call you Anjana. Sanjana, thank you so much for joining us on Front Page. And I would, of course, ladies and gentlemen, like to add to what Sanjana just mentioned. I think, yes, it is a very aspirational thought, and I believe we should all believe together that this is obviously not the end. I mean, this is probably just a lesson. This is just a learning. And who better to close out the show today than Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. I would like for his words to resonate with all of you watching. In space, there are no failures, only lessons that push us closer to success. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, this is Front Page. We are signing off tonight. And all I have to say is like, share, subscribe. Let's forever be resilient and forever think AI, think AIM.